Bitcoin is coiling up, consolidating at all-time highs. When this thing blows, this thing's going to blow hard. 80,000, 90,000, 100,000. And once Bitcoin gets to that magical number of $100,000, all bets are off. This thing is going to go wild. There will be dips along the way, of course, but you need to understand, a perfect storm is lining up for Bitcoin. And once this thing blows, there'll be no stopping it. Again, there will be dips and corrections, of course. But understand this, Bitcoin is still playing out similarly to the 2020 all-time high breakout. Right here, this is us today. Higher lows, pushing into all-time highs. I don't think bears will be able to withstand another test of $70,000. Send it higher. Study history. Something like this is going to happen. That's my belief. Historically, Bitcoin always pumps after the halving. First halving, 8,000%. Second halving, 3,000%. Third halving, 800%. So this cycle, if you believe that Bitcoin each cycle sees diminishing returns, this cycle we should get 400% increase. But even if we only get a 200% pump, it will already put Bitcoin well above $200,000. So supply is about to be cut in half. Virtually every major bank and financial institution is advertising Bitcoin halving coming up. Buy Bitcoin through us. You need to buy Bitcoin. We've seen BlackRock's commercials. We've seen Fidelity's commercials. Here's another one, guys. 100 billion TD Bank. This is America's most convenient bank. 100 billion assets under management just dropped a Bitcoin commercial about the halving. It is amazing that banks and financial institutions are starting to advertise this right now. They have huge budgets to advertise this, and they're all doing it.
In early 2024, Bitcoin's price reached new all-time highs. But what's the cause? Well, Bitcoin's price is determined by demand and supply, just like a stock. If there's more demand from buyers than supply from sellers, the price goes up. But if the opposite is true, the price goes down. And recently, the new US spot Bitcoin ETFs have increased demand significantly, but there hasn't been a significant increase in supply. In fact, there's another event happening in April of 2024 that will reduce the supply of new Bitcoin entering the market. It's called Bitcoin halving. Bitcoin was designed so only 21 million coins can be created. But instead of flooding the market with all the coins at once, a supply of new coins is slowly released into the market every day. As the name suggests, halving cuts the supply of new coins in half roughly every 4 years. This will continue until around May of 2140, when all 21 million Bitcoin will be on the open market. So how has the price of Bitcoin behaved after the previous halving events? Well, following each halving, prices climbed up significantly. Although history suggests that Bitcoin's price is ready for more new highs in 2024, it's not a guarantee. There are other factors that could greatly impact demand and supply, which ultimately determine Bitcoin's price. For more information about investing in Bitcoin with TD through ETFs, watch our video. And to open an account online with TD Direct Investing, click the link in the description.
So guess what we're seeing? SEC filings show that US banks are buying Bitcoin. US banks are finally starting to get off zero when it comes to Bitcoin. We're just seeing all of these giants just go crazy with their advertising. BlackRock launches a massive Bitcoin ETF campaign. Here you can see this on the top of the Bloomberg terminal homepage. IBIT, which is their ETF, took $15 billion worth of Bitcoin in 3 months. They want more. This is BlackRock's head of active ETFs, so he knows what's going on. And here he articulates why so many are now interested in buying Bitcoin. He says a whole group of investors are now thinking about Bitcoin for the first time because of these spot Bitcoin ETFs. Listen.
It goes back to investor interest, that investors have been saying for years that we want an ETF that is providing exposure to Bitcoin. They liked the asset, but they wanted a better vehicle to get exposure to it. And just like it's incredibly easy to get exposure to 500 stocks in the S&P 500 through IVV or to get bond exposure through AG, people want that type of easy vehicle for Bitcoin. So this is a huge step forward for investors getting that easy access. But also a lot of investors for the first time can now consider Bitcoin. It just wasn't available to a lot of investors who could only buy things that are traded on exchanges like ETFs. And so now you see a whole group of investors who are thinking about this asset for the first time.
You're also seeing 70 different mutual funds saying, you know what? I would like to switch to an ETF, because an ETF is like a mutual fund, only it trades like a stock. You can move it as many times as you want during the day.
Let's go over some of this demand data. So of course, the big one is the ETFs. We've been keeping you informed on these since the very beginning. You can see, although it's reached a little bit of a plateau, the trend can pretty much only go up. We're so early on these things. This chart shows the number of Bitcoin the spot Bitcoin ETFs hold. The new Bitcoin ETFs, so not including Grayscale, purchased nearly 525,000 Bitcoin, worth 37 billion in just 62 trading days, in just 2 months. It's not just BlackRock and Grayscale and the ETFs that are holding Bitcoin. Of course, that's a large part of it. It's also miners. It's also different corporations like MicroStrategy. And of course, nation states. We know about El Salvador. They're a small country that's really furthering themselves by taking a risk on Bitcoin. They're really the only big country that bought or mined the Bitcoin themselves, as the biggest nation states that hold Bitcoin confiscated it or seized it. Yet, they have skin in the game. US has skin in the game, China has skin in the game, UK, Germany, Ukraine. And of course, private individuals like us continue to dollar cost average. Of course, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. Yesterday, we reported to you what's happening with the SEC's latest action against Uniswap. And we and this whole industry are going to continue to fight Gary Gensler. Remember, first they came for Binance to protect us. Next, they came for Coinbase to protect us. Now they're coming for Uniswap to protect us, yet they missed FTX, Celsius, and 3 Arrow Capital, all on Gary's watch?
The biggest crypto failure in history is probably FTX at $9 billion. Were you the chairman of the SEC when FTX collapsed?
Yes.
And how many times did you meet with FTX prior to their collapse?
I think my public record shows 2.
You met it with FTX at least twice. And arguably, the second biggest crypto failure in history was Terra Luna. Who was the chairman of the SEC when Terra Luna collapsed, sir?
We had brought...
You were, sir, reclaiming my time. You were. Does it concern you that your approach to the digital asset industry is actually driving this industry out of the United States?
trying to drive it to compliance, and if they're not complying with the laws.
You say the crypto market is rife with non-compliance. However, existing SEC rules make no sense for blockchain-based companies, and following them would actually kill these businesses. Your regulatory style lacks flexibility and nuance, and as a result, you've been an incompetent cop on the beat, doing nothing to protect everyday Americans.
So, we're in for a very interesting rest of the year, to say the least. I remain bullish on Bitcoin, certainly up until the presidential election, certainly for the next 6 to 9 to 11 months. To me, the bull case is obvious. And if we do get to these higher levels, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves post-presidential election and into 2025, at that point, all bets are off, in my opinion. At that point, we're going to have to question, how much higher does this cycle go? Of course, if any of us knew the future, we'd all be rich. My name is Aaron at Altcoin Daily. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for daily updates on everything going on in crypto. See you tomorrow.